What's up, Dream Media family? This is Zach and Chase up here in Colorado, showing off this beautiful, stunning mountain modern home up here in Vail Valley. I'm gonna be tossing it off to Chase, our regional sales manager, to give you guys some insight into what you're about to see in this gorgeous home. If you are interested in purchasing anything audio video related tech for your home, we're your one-stop shop. We handle everything from design, installation, management, as well as after service. We want to be here for you guys long term. We're local, boots on the ground, and we'd love the opportunity to earn your business. All right, guys, let's get into this video. Welcome back, Dream Media family, and I'd like to introduce Chase Williams. He is our regional sales manager here in Colorado, and he's going to give you the lowdown, some of the complexities, as well as how he was able to overcome some of the wiring nightmares and old technology in this existing home, and how we were able to bring it up to 2024 standards. Guys, let's get into it.
Thanks, Zach. So as Zach said, the control system that was in the home was a little over 10 years old, but a big part of that was it just wasn't upkept and serviced as other components in the home changed. So it fell out of date really quick. They had URC complete control in isolated media areas around the house, but those didn't even turn on the TVs anymore, much less control any of the media streaming devices, whole home audio. So we came into the home and brought this whole house into a modern total control system with URC. So probably the most shocking aspect of this house was really two things. The network quality. So when I got here, there were 3 live networks in the home. So there was the access points run through an HP link, and it was a Ruckus AP infrastructure throughout the home, but they also had a Comcast business Wi-Fi infrastructure up and a Comcast residential infrastructure up. So we had a lot of competing clashing radio waves in the house, causing sticky devices between access points. And part of the old control system was on the Comcast business, or part of it was on the Comcast residential. There wasn't really a centralized network or a way to access the home from a single entity. So that was the biggest thing we did is, as I broke down in our longer form videos, we got all of the Comcast product into bridge mode. You may be asking why we kept residential and commercial. The residential Comcast feed into the home is really just for their cable TVs. The clients work out of their home in the medical industry, and they needed a more solid connection. So Comcast Business is actually what's powering the backbone of the network. And we installed a full Araknis system. So brand new router, brand new switch, top line, enterprise grade network access points throughout the home that tripled the speed on just Wi-Fi alone, almost a quadruple wired speed than we were getting with the same service coming into the house from the ISP provider. The other big issue that I talked about a ton in the deep dive breakdowns is we're on the 3rd tech renovation at this property. So when I came in to do an initial evaluation, talked to the client about what system would work right for them in their home application, there's wires galore all throughout this house, and unfortunately most of those wires were cut or damaged during the 2 previous renovations of the home, which left me with a lot of problems to tackle in those deep dives, where instead of having 4 RJ45s to a TV location, I had 1 for a whole room for control. But URC being such a rock solid and scalable platform that's very flexible with the end user integration, it allowed me to keep all of this old tech. You'll see in here, we have TVs that are well over 10 years old, still in functioning, which are gonna come with future upgrades. But URC gave me that flexibility to take all of the home technology as it lied and get it running through a robust modern app, single room remote solutions, which will show, as well as floater touchscreens like Zach utilizes in his own home here in Colorado. So very cool stuff. Those are the 2 biggest issues, but we also addressed the audio system not functioning at all. So now we have a Sonos backbone with in-house URC amplifiers running the distributed audio system. We have very fast, responsive, easy room linking now. Favorites assigned in the app. We'll show some of that downstairs on the touchscreen, to where the homeowner's no longer opening Spotify, then opening Sonos, then opening their home app to actually get audio functioning. All of that is just running straight from the URC system. Very exciting. We do have Lutron lighting throughout the house, which we are coming back to integrate a Lutron Connect bridge so that I can bring the whole legacy Lutron lighting system into that modern URC control platform. And then that's when we can really go crazy with all the movie scenes and all that goodness. We're also talking about a future shade expansion down the line. As you'll see in this house, in most Colorado homes, we just got windows. We don't have wall space here. No one's staring at a wall. Everyone's looking out windows, and the sun does beam pretty hard in the home. So excited to show off this first rendition deployment of this URC system, and super excited to be coming back over the years, providing service and getting them really up to 2024 specs, especially some of these TVs.
Now we're inside of this beautiful Mountain Modern home. I'm gonna toss it off to Chase, and he's gonna give you guys a run through of kind of what was done. If you're wanting to know more about every little detail, most of the work on this project was actually done in the rack room. And Chase made like 3, 4, 5 hours of content for you guys. I actually got into it the other day and was just very thoroughly impressed on how extensive the videos were. So if you guys are wanting to understand rack infrastructure and you're wanting to understand how to properly build a large home system design, watch those videos. I mean, you really went into depth on explaining and giving insight into common practices for
why we recommend
certain products. So now we're actually standing in one of the rooms in the main area, the kitchen, dining, formal living space. It's one giant room, but this is really kind of the heart of the home and where one of the main touch panels that controls the entire home lives. So Dream Media is your go-to technology provider here locally in Colorado. In today's video, we're out in Vail Valley. Now I'm gonna toss it off to Chase, our regional sales manager, to really get into the nitty-gritty. Over to you, Chase.
Right on.
All right.
So I came into this house and they had a good wiring backbone to the home for the most part. This was the third renovation of the Tec system since in this system's life. And unfortunately, during some of the, I guess you'd say like designer renovations where they're redoing the walls, redoing wood trims, new doors, stuff like that, a lot of the AV infrastructure was cut. So URC is the provider we went with for this control system, allows me the most flexibility on the market to tackle some of these harder homes where we lost wire infrastructure. Maybe we've got older technology mixed with brand new stuff that came off the line in 2024. We just really wanted that flexibility. Where every proper functioning smart home starts is power infrastructure. So the first thing we addressed is power infrastructure. We brought in a Wattbox 2000 series UPS to keep their Wi-Fi up in 4 to 8 hour, what I would consider an intermittent length power outage. So not long term, you know, if you've lost service to your house for a couple of days, you'd need a really serious battery backup. But this is just to keep the home up and running during the business day, keep you online, keep you able to work from home. So battery backup to keep the rack from going down hard. Then on top of that, we've got not only surge protectors, making sure that all the equipment is receiving proper voltage and clean power at all times, but that those power strips talk to the network and allow me to program in a self-healing network so that if the URC controller was to, for some reason, fall offline, or if there was a handshake issue between Comcast Business Service and our Araknis router in the rack, that is self-healed through the system. So with the main components set up, and I just want to make it clear that these are programmed hard onto the power ports so that in the event of a power outage, it's running hard downloaded program. It's not reaching to the cloud to ask what to reset. So when the house loses connectivity, the computer rack knows what to do to get itself back online without me being here in person. With that address, the most important part of every home after power is network, which really does become the center of the show in a control, in a modern control platform, since most of the communication in the house happens over network. There are a few IR devices that are centrally run from the rack, but everything that's not on that is being controlled either IP directly or IP secondarily. And what I mean by that is on some of the really remote locations in this house where I only had one data cable, but maybe 5, 6 devices that needed control, I'm able to use the URC control platform via their MRX 4IR. Which is a single room solution that I can run over Wi-Fi or a single Ethernet cable, and then lets me branch out and control a whole subnet subsystem in the house. So since everything is on IP, the network was paramount. So we have a full, what I would call enterprise grade network in this house. We've got top line router, PoE plus switch, and 5 of Araknis's top line access points running the backbone of this house. We have tripled the Wi-Fi speed and quadrupled the line speed with the same service provider coming in. Some of that was as simple as cleaning up some nasty connections we found. Maybe we can pan into the rack when we first got here. We had data connections where the sleeve wasn't even into the connector, and I've got bare copper exposed everywhere, desyncing issues. Actually, we'll pan over at some point here, but my main access point for this great room was in a kitchen cabinet, tucked under a microwave, behind a toaster oven and a regular toaster, and they were wondering why they were only getting like 20. Yeah, so back there, if you were to pull that out, there's an RJ45 port, and that was the main access point for this area of the home, which obviously was functioning horribly. So part of that was just relocating some of the network gear, but most of it was just making sure that we had proper coverage, that our bands were tuned properly, so I'm not getting bad handoff. You may invest in a really nice network system and still have a lackluster performance from your phone as you walk through the house. I think Zach was experiencing this as well, where maybe you're in the kitchen, but because they didn't properly configure the network, your phone is still connected to the movie room upstairs because the bands reach that far. So all of a sudden, instead of being right under your fast access point here where you're pulling half a gig over Wi-Fi, you're stuck with 50 megabit service from an access point all the way across the house because they were not, your radio wave bands were not configured properly to facilitate smooth handoff throughout the home. So with power and network, not only upgraded, but put on central home automation that's self-healing. And that also gives me insight that if a device is hung up, that maybe for some reason, let's say a local Apple TV that's on an Ethernet cable, but not centralized to the power infrastructure, I'm able to even go in microly and reset that port to reestablish that network connection of an individual device. After that, we brought in all our really sweet URC gear, which every single piece of product that went into this home was unboxed in our longer form content, and its purpose in the home explained as we went. But we have an MRX 12 as our primary processor, as well as 2 MRX 5s on far sides of the home and wired locations, and an MRX 4IR down in the gym. That's kind of its really own island down there, and that guy's actually running off of Wi-Fi because I had one internet cable coming down to that part of the house, so obviously our access point went on that. And then beyond that, I was able to jump into our secondary single room controller from URC and really just grasp that space. We've got an old school DVD player for workout movies. We've got a quad, more of, not really, I would say, like an entertainment zone. Now, when you're watching TV, it does go through the entertainment center, but it's not something we'd consider like a 5.1 or whatever. It's really a 4-speaker distributed audio system that, since it was a local island, I also repurposed for the AV content. After we got done with all the URC gear, then we get into the really fun end pieces for the client. We have Apple TVs, Fire Sticks, 2 brand new Sonos ports named for the client specifically. So when they go into the app, they click on their own name. They're not having to worry about opening Spotify, casting to Sonos, going to Sonos, turning the zone on, and then opening up a third party, what would be the URC app. They go directly into their URC app. They can hit their favorites, call on their favorite playlist from Spotify right there, group their zones as much as they want through the house, and then keep going. Before, when I first arrived here, it wasn't really working, but the distributed audio system was functioning off of an older Sonos infrastructure, but it was a type of system where you had to walk to each keypad individually located in the room, start and set your volume there. So if you were trying to do, let's say, host a party where you had music throughout the whole home, you were walking to 12 different rooms and fidgeting with an in-wall keypad. Whereas now, either from my URC touchscreen, my remotes, or my phone app, I can pick my favorite music, assign it to a room, and set volumes for each zone specifically just from this native app. I can also call on my party modes. So here we have 3 modes for listening in this house. We have the what we've labeled the main floor, which is this great room area that extends into the master wing, outdoor patio, upstairs lobby, and an office. So they can call on main zone, just play here. In the lower section of the house, they have a party mode called, lower zone, which is where their son resides. So when he's trying to play music, he can go ahead and blast music throughout the entire bottom floor, out on the patio by the jacuzzi, without bothering what's going on up here music-wise. And then we have your typical party mode, which is every single speaker in the house jamming out, creating a vibe that you can't really experience till you're in a home and can hit 2 buttons and listen to music in every zone in the house, versus having to spend 6-7 minutes to get your home running, to the point where you end up not using this technology you've invested in because it's such a time commitment on your behalf to get the home going. So we got the music infrastructure, and then we got a brand new Denon AVR controlled over IP in there, that we brought microphones into each local audio zone like this, and not only deployed an AVR, but tuned that AVR with room correction for this space to get optimal audio presence and accurate imaging. If you just deploy an AVR in your home without proper room correction software, you'll get noise. You'll get sound. It's gonna be really unbalanced. Your rears will probably be overpumping your center channel. Your left and right will be too hot in a solution like we have back here. If we pan up, we've got a LCR Soundbar. So we've got our front 3 channels recessed into this tile wall above the TV. If this was deployed and not tuned with room correction, the right, left, and center would all be pumping at the same volume, which would result in very unclear dialogue. So that's just that next extra step. And then beyond that infrastructure, everything else takes place in the local rooms. So we built a really solid rack. We'll go ahead and show B-roll of when I first walked into this house and what it looks like now. We cleaned it up the best we could and really parsed our way through some of this old infrastructure and really got the home running solid. As we had spoke of in a previous video, our client actually just got home and talked to us about how he had a network outage this previous Sunday. Was debating calling me, debating calling Comcast, trying to get a van rolled out here. And all he had to do was wait a couple minutes and the house came back online and they continued with their day without even having to reach out to me or schedule a service call for me. So very cool, exciting stuff. I just discussed everything that we did new, but we were able to integrate a Legacy Lutron system into URC. Lutron has a processor that's tied into the rack, and I was able to bring that in, shake hands with URC. And now, because they did have a Lutron system, but it wasn't a modern Lutron system that had app access before. So typically that leaves you to whatever pre-programmed scenes are housed on the controller internally from the original install. So he had one button in the master bedroom that did a whole house off. That's the only place he could access that. So if he's, hit his car on the driveway, he's now coming in, walking down 2 floors, going in, hitting whole house off, then dipping back out of the house. Now everything is centralized. So instead of having to use all these keypads, which are great to have for guests or just when you're walking through the home, you're transitioning through a space to hit the keypads. Now that's all accessible from the app, can be set up on scheduling, and we can now create whatever scenes we want. So the base Lutron deployment, they have scenes in here, and that's great, but now we have the freedom to really micromanage. Do you want a dining scene? Do you want a movie scene? Do you want a low lit walkway when you're going to the bathroom in the middle of the night? Or when you're coming in late at night, not wake your partner up, you don't need the lights turning on at 100%, and that gives us the control here. So we've showed this in a ton of videos in the past. Zach's house is set up the same way. We can control every light load to a percentage through our URC app, and really just brings together every smart system. Same thing with the Ring doorbell camera with that integrated. Now we've eliminated 4 or 5 apps in the home down to a single user interface that really makes it digestible, not only for the homeowner, but for guests. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to come in here, look at whatever room you're in, because the pictures of the room in URC match what's physically behind me. So if I'm looking at the hearth room, I am literally staring at this. It's not hard to locate where I am. And then it kind of walks me through it. I've got my entertainment, my music options here, and URC, I don't want to say hold your hand, but just makes it a thoughtless process and thoughtless user interaction at the end of the day. So awesome stuff. I'd love to dive into our local zones and keep chugging through here. Thanks for joining us today, and super excited to show off how URC lets us mix technology. I think that is the biggest thing with this property here, as opposed to some of the other properties that we've shot videos on recently, is that most of the tech in those homes is brand new. 2024, everything easily integrates, so you could probably pick any control platform based on preference. URC really gave me the freedom to mix decade-old technology with stuff that I just received and unboxed off the shelf, modern network gear with older TVs like this TV behind me that will be coming back for at a later date to upgrade. So just stunning flexibility, really let us invest in the backbone of the house first, and we can come back for some of these sparkly pieces for the end user, like your TVs, maybe some upgraded speakers. But now that we've got that backbone in place, this home is expandable and serviceable for years to come.